We are artists. We are sensitive about our okay? But there are three really important things about being a podcaster. Let's talk about them today. Hey, it's Kyla Denanyoh. So this is a bonus podcast episode because, drumroll please, this podcast is celebrating 3 years of You Are a Lawyer episodes. I had to put up this episode because 3 years makes me a professional. I've interviewed more than 85 lawyers. I have about 16 interviews that are waiting to be released. I'm a professional. I've done this with a job. I've done it without a job. I've done it while pregnant. I've done it with a toddler. I've done it as a newlywed. I'm still a newlywed, right? To celebrate 3 years of podcasting, let's talk about 3 truths of being a podcaster. Lessons from a professional. That's me. So let's get into the most important point to me. Podcasting is not for everyone. What? I launch podcasts. How could I possibly say podcasting is not for everyone? Because if you don't know why you're creating a podcast, podcasting is not for you. Podcasting requires work. Do you hear me? You got to come up with an idea. You got to show up to record. You have to record in a space that's conducive to good audio. You have to make sure you're engaged. You have to interact if you have a guest. You got to edit. You got to upload. You got to talk about it. You got to advertise. You got to build a website. You got to do things, okay? As a professional, you have to know why you are podcasting. I have a niche podcast, okay? And one of Ali Abdal's definitions of a niche, which I love, is a target audience and an intention, okay? And so my niche is I help new lawyers and law students find creative, non-traditional careers. Wow. So if you are not a law student or a lawyer, you probably wouldn't be interested. But if you're interested in non-traditional careers, I think I'll take a look. Let's see what this Kyla lady is talking about, because that's what I talk about on You Are a Lawyer. If you're starting a podcast because your cousin has one and you think it'll be fun, I don't think so. I don't see what the point would be, but again, go for it, right? I do help small business owners launch podcasts because podcasting is another marketing channel. My podcast has turned into an advertising company. That takes us straight into point number 2, which is podcasting can be difficult. Podcasting requires time. Podcasting requires attention. And even if you're able to hire a podcast editor like me and skip the boring stuff, you still have to show up and record. You have to at least do a little bit of effort. Of course, we all want to lay on the couch. Duh. Of course, we all want to go to the beach. Of course, we all want to do anything that is not work, right? But you have to put in some work, put in some time so that you can get to that space where you can enjoy it. All right, so there is a level of difficulty to podcast. So before we get to point number 3, I really appreciate you watching this video. And if you're getting something valuable out of it, consider subscribing to the channel. So point number 3, podcasting requires vulnerability. We are artists. We are sensitive about our okay? You are going to have to ask people to subscribe to the show. Ask people to listen. Ask a guest to share the episode. Ask a friend, a cousin, a parent to listen to just see if they enjoy it, right? That requires vulnerability. My mom listens to the podcast and one day she was like, I'm enjoying it and then it just ends. Like, you need to have a better way to let us know it's almost ending. Girl, what are you talking? Everybody knows it was ending, but maybe I could change the ending, right? And so ever since she said that, now I say, hey guest, so this is gonna be our last question, okay? And I was like, man, so she was so engaged in the conversation, she was surprised when it ended. That's a good thing. And also, I worked with a podcast coach. And when I did it, I can honestly say, my podcast was moving along and I was like, I want to pay someone to audit my podcast and tell me what a great job I'm doing. That did not happen. You can definitely have a podcast for a number of years and never work with a podcast coach. But I was vulnerable enough to let someone come on, someone who has way more experience than me, audit my podcast, and they found a number of things that I could do to improve my show. And let me tell you, it's been working, okay? And as I mentioned, these companies are real. I created KD Creative, which is my creative agency where I help small businesses launch podcasts. I also created Skip the Boring Stuff, which is where I manage podcasts for busy podcasters. So podcasting is so much fun. I truly, truly enjoy it. I record all the podcasts right here in my studio, okay? So take a look at this video where I talk to a Canadian lawyer about why you have to pay attention to client data. See you in the next video.